Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé. Let's get to it.
How you feeling, baby?
Feeling tired. I can't sleep at night.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, baby. You think that it's some residual stress from your experience here in Mexico?
Okay, so this is the first time, at least, they've shown us a clip where he's acknowledging what she went through, or at least from my memory anyway. There seems to be a stiltedness to the way he talks. It's hard for me to understand why. Maybe he's just a little nervous because he's on camera. Maybe he's uncomfortable about something, or maybe that's just the way he talks.
Yeah.
I know that Amira has just been through an incredibly tragic situation, but we are running out of time on our visa. And if I don't make plans now, we could lose the visa entirely.
So I don't know anything about immigration law, but he is saying, okay, the K-1 visa is going to run out. We all understand that's the 90 days, right? And does that mean they can never reapply or what? Because if they can reapply, then it would make sense. You'd be like, looks like we missed this window. Let's reapply and try again later. I'll come to France. I'll visit you once the pandemic is over. I don't know. So, but if they can never get another K-1 visa, then I guess there would be some level of a time crunch. But that doesn't seem likely. I don't know.
It does not look like I'm going to go to Serbia because I have to get back to work.
So tell me how you feel. Tell me your thoughts.
I'm gonna think about it, baby.
But that would have to be a decision that would be made relatively soon because we only have almost 30 days left on our visa.
So this couple's a little harder to figure out because they always have these really awkward conversations, seemingly, over video conference. And by the way, she should get a tripod because, holding a thing out like that, you got to get... It's hard to figure out what's happening here. Does she really want to be with him? There seems to be some questions around that, or at least we haven't really established that. Is he pressuring her? What's the nature of that pressure? It's just really hard to tell. There seems to be some evidence of pressure, the way that she talks. But there also seems to be some evidence that she isn't very communicative with him about really what's going on for her. Now, we do know that she went through a massive trauma being detained for 3 days, and that really was hard for her, as it would be for anybody. Does he care? Does he not care? Does he have a hard time showing he cares? Is it the video conference? Is it the way that it's edited? It's hard to tell what's happening here.
Before my trip to Mexico, Andrew told me that I'm going to be okay, so I trust him, and we know what happened next. And now, here we are again. Now he's telling me about Serbia. But they're saying on TV news that there's a lot of COVID cases there. I'm not sure it's a safe country.
Yeah, I will say, looking back to the time that this was being shot, that for anyone to say, well, this is what you do and everything will be fine, that's pretty naive given how chaotic it was and how chaotic it still is, but especially back then, because I think this is around, springtime 2020. So it is a little interesting that he seems very sure of himself. Now, maybe he has good reasons to be very sure of himself. But I guess if it's one thing I could comment on in this relationship is they don't seem to really communicate in a very real way. If I didn't know any better, I would think they were like coworkers talking about something at work. They don't seem to be very emotive. They don't seem to have a lot of love for each other that's expressed. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's that it's just video or they resent each other or there's some kind of barrier, but it is notable that there doesn't seem to be any like, hey, how's it going? What's going on with you? Oh, good to see you. Like there's none of that seemingly.
I am nervous about the visa getting expired, but the pressure of me having to do another trip like that is starting again. It feels like it's endless. It will never stop. But I don't want to lose Andrew if I don't say what he wants to hear.
I'm missing you, baby. And I'm going to take a lot of pictures and we'll be in touch.
So she just said something interesting. She said, I don't want to lose Andrew if I don't say what he wants to hear. Okay. So where does that come from? Does it come from him, from the pressure he gives? Does it come from her, given her past traumas, that's how she approaches relationships? Is it both? That's obviously not going to help. She should be able to say, hey, I'm going to tell you something that I don't think you're going to like to hear, and you're not going to like it, and I'm sorry, and I hope you don't reject me over this, but I don't want to do this plan because of these reasons. So she feels like she can't say that. Is that because of him? On the track record she has with him? Is it because of her? If I were talking with her, I would say, okay, so let's walk ourselves through that. You're afraid to tell him how you really feel, which I'm guessing is fear, which would be natural. And also just feeling like he doesn't seem to care about her experience or putting her in danger. You're afraid to tell him how you feel because you don't want to lose him. So you're let me get this straight. You're essentially saying you want a relationship in which you can't tell your spouse about your fears, about your terror. Is that really the sort of relationship you want to have? My guess is she would say, well, when you put it that way, no. So I worry about her particularly in this situation, because if this goes the way it looks like it's going, he's going to say, hey, put yourself in harm's way. She's going to put herself in harm's way. Something bad could happen, and we're right back where we started. Now, I know from the comments that the internet believes that he is some kind of narcissistic jerk or something. I don't know if we know that precisely, because this show doesn't give us a lot of information. There seems to be evidence that he doesn't care about her, but it could be edited that way, or again, it could be the video thing. It's hard to tell. There's nothing wrong with him being like, well, I paid for this vacation. He doesn't seem like a rich person, so this could be his one vacation that he goes on in 10 years. And he's like, well, I might as well kind of enjoy myself. And maybe if we were to talk with him, he'd be like, yeah, I'm just absolutely so sad for what she went through. He doesn't seem to exhibit that, but it's hard to know because the producers aren't really... I always love it when the producers ask questions, really pointed questions, like, do you care about what she went through? Because I'd really like to hear his answer. I could see it going a lot of different ways.
I was supposed to be in Mexico right now, and that I'm trying to be with Andrew. Et du coup, je sais pas si je t'avais dit, mais il est resté à l'hôtel, au resort.
Mais
il est toujours en vacances, en fait.
Mais donc il est tout seul là-bas.
Il savait que j'étais incarcérée, mais lui, il est quand même resté dans l'hôtel.
So as I've been saying, I totally understand that she is very hurt and traumatized by what happened. And what I would hope would happen is that he would demonstrate, that Andrew would demonstrate over the phone how sorry he is for what she went through, for the things that he didn't have any control over, but also for suggesting that they even do that and maybe even slightly forcing her to do it. So if he apologized up and down, I'm guessing that Amira would be okay with that he stayed in the hotel. If he demonstrated that he was remorseful, that he cared about her, I'm guessing that she wouldn't, but she's really focusing on this idea that he's staying in the hotel. Because I think it's, and I'm pretty sure that's the narrative we're supposed to walk away with, is that he doesn't care and that he is like, well, I'm on vacation. Imagine being in a resort by yourself. Like I think I said this when it first sort of occurred. I can't imagine that being any fun at all, honestly. I would be bored. But the other thing here is like, well, what's he supposed to do? There's nothing he can do to take back what happened. And so he did spend the money, so he might as well enjoy himself. That's how I feel about it. If I were Amira and I got enough love and apologies and attention, I would actually force him to stay. And I would say, enjoy yourself. You paid for it. Because I don't think he's that rich. I mean, he works with his mom on an in-home daycare. I can't imagine that they're rolling in dough. So this might be, like I've been saying, the one vacation he goes on in 5 or 10 years along these lines. I don't know. If I were Amira, I'd be like, stay. But what we have here is a lack of communication. I don't know why that is. I don't know if he is a jerk face by nature, or there's something interfering with his empathy. I don't know if she doesn't communicate how she feels, because we haven't seen that either. I think anyone would intuit that she's going through a lot, and that, Andrew should know that she's really upset. So it's just hard to know. I'd really have to ask the two of them what's going on here. I know the show is trying to give this narrative that he's a jerk face, but I see some evidence of that, but I don't see enough to really know. But anyway, so she's talking with her friend, which is great. I'm really glad she's safe and back in France.
Vu qu'en fait, il est très inquiet par rapport à mon visa. Et du coup, il a trouvé une autre solution, c'est au lieu d'aller au Mexique, vu que ça n'a pas marché, il veut que j'aille en Serbie maintenant.
The obvious solution to this whole thing is for Andrew and Amira to have a long conversation where they're like, what do we want to do as a couple? Here are the circumstances. I heard about this Serbia option. I don't know if it works. Should we wait? Should we give it up? Should we try again when the pandemic is over? What do we want to do as a couple? I'm going to throw out there the Serbia option, but let's talk long term here. Let's really, because what if that goes wrong? And what are the chances it's going to go wrong? And let's work together as a team. So they are not doing that at all. It seems that he is completely in control of all the different arrangements or the figuring out of the loopholes in the situation. And she is just, hearing this and thinking, well, I don't know if I want to do that. Instead of the two of them actually coming together and saying, look, here are all the factors. Let's both investigate together. Let me tell you how I feel about that. Let me tell you, what's the bigger picture here? Because presumably they're trying to spend the rest of their lives together. I will tell you that it kind of seems like Amira doesn't like him that much, but maybe she loves him. And maybe it's a factor of the fact that we haven't seen them in the same room yet. But she doesn't seem to like him. And it really just makes me wonder, why is she even in this relationship? I don't know. But maybe there's a lot of affection. We just haven't seen it on camera yet.
C'est une aberration, vraiment. Ta relation, enfin, c'est pas bon, hein. De toi, et puis je te dis, il prend pas en compte tout ce que tu as pu vivre toi. Moi, je partirai pas.
Je sais, mais le problème, c'est que si j'y vais pas, il va être déçu.
Non, mais il y a pas que lui qu'il faut prendre en compte, c'est toi.
So this is consistent with what she's been saying thus far. We haven't heard a lot from her, but this is consistent with what she's been saying, in that she says, well, he'll be crushed. He'll be upset. If I don't do it, he'll be angry at me. He really wants me to. There's no statement of, well, I thought about it and I really want to marry him and I know this is a bit risky, but we have this window and this is what I want to do. There's no statement around what she wants to do. And it's tempting to look at her as a victim of Andrew's domination, which could be true, but it's also possible that she doesn't know what she wants and she doesn't communicate that. And that Andrew, if you asked Andrew, he might be like, I thought she was completely on board. She said this, this, and this. But then away from Andrew, she says these other things. Or does she say those things to Andrew? Does she say to Andrew, look, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm terrified. You really want to do this, and I don't want to disappoint you, and I don't want to lose you, but I don't know if I want to do this. There's no conversation like that at all that we've seen.
Il y a beaucoup de choses que moi, quand je t'écoute, qui me mettent vraiment mal à l'aise. Et ça m'inquiète un petit peu, je vais pas te mentir. J'y réfléchirai vraiment avant de repartir. Parce qu'après, ce sera trop tard, pour le coup.
It's my dream to go to America, but the number of people around me that support my relationship with Andrew is close to 0 right now.
It's always interesting when I hear that phrasing. We heard this from Ryan and Stephanie, that when asked, she's like, it's always been my dream to go to America. But right now, everyone hates my relationship with Andrew. There's no statement in there of, I love Andrew and I want to be with him. I like him. I respect him. We can always have both. We can have both love for a human being, Andrew, and a desire, a lifelong dream to go to the United States. And both, you can get two birds with one stone by marrying the love of your life and who happens to live in the country that you want to live in. But the way that she just phrased it, let's listen to that.
Parce qu'après, ce sera trop tard, pour le coup.
It's my dream to go to America, but the number of people around me that support my relationship with Andrew is close to zero right now.
It's always been my dream to go to America. Now, as I always say, I am completely in the dark when it comes to what's really going on with these people. I'd have to ask them, I'd have to investigate, I'd have to assess their personalities, I'd have to get their point of view. There's just so many questions. So I don't know. But the way that they edited that and the way that she just said that, it seems as though her dream to go to America is bigger than her dream of marrying Andrew. And that's an interesting situation to be in, right? That she maybe a long time ago said, well, yeah, he's not perfect, but he is going to facilitate my dream to go to America. And so I don't like him that much anyway. And so if he's disappointing to me, one, I don't really care because I don't really have a connection with him. I'm not trying to get my romantic and attachment needs met through him because he's just a sort of a means to an end. Now, that could mean a lot of different things. It could mean you're just going to use someone for a green card and then divorce him. Or it could mean you're just like, you know what? I gave up on a rom-com version of my life a long time ago, and I'm just looking for someone to marry, just someone to have that arrangement with, and, you know, we'll be friendly, but it's not a soulmate situation. There's a lot of people around the world who get married with that attitude, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not defeatist. It's just a different lifestyle. It's just a different culture or a different idea of life, and so that's okay. But that attitude would mean that you're not that invested in the relationship, and so you're not necessarily interested in having a back and forth where you're really invested in communicating with the other person. You're going to worry a lot if the door is starting to close because your dream is closing. Because from her standpoint, she might be thinking, this is my one chance to get my dream. And so I'm going to allow him to hurt my feelings because he is my he is my ticket to get my dream. And so I'm gonna do a lot of risks myself because I'm trying to get my dream here. I don't know. There's just no way to know. There's also a possibility that she's completely in love with him and they have a wonderful relationship or at least a connection on some level. And that she wants both things. She wants she wants to go to the United States because that's her dream. And she wants to be with Andrew because she really loves him. We haven't seen any evidence of that, but you know, it could be there.
I love Andrew, but right now, I don't know what to do. Merci pour tes conseils.
Ben, moi, je suis toujours là, tu le sais. Hein.
Okay, she just said, I love Andrew, but I don't know what to do. All right, so at least that's a tick in the column of she actually does really, really love him and consider him to be a soulmate, that kind of thing. If you didn't know this, we have a podcast that you can listen to on your phone. If you have a podcast app on your phone, you can subscribe to Psychology in Seattle. We put out 3 episodes or 4 episodes a week. And they're like hour-long discussions on all things psychology and sometimes pop culture. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.